In the midst of every trouble, there are always glimmers of hope. Thanks for watching.
All right, welcome back. This is Glimmers of Hope, and we're so happy that you're here with us, and also very happy to have John in the room. John is our next interviewee. We're going to talk a lot about what's been going on with him. John, thank you very much for being with us. It's a big deal, and we appreciate it.
Sure.
So, just to get things started, we all have things in common in our story for the last 6 months. I thought about it today. I thought, you know what? We're all in the same book, but my story is vastly different from yours. It's totally different, but still, we're in the same book, just different stories. So let's go back to January 7th. Can you remember and tell us what's going on? What happened to you on January 7th, 8th, and 9th? Can you tell us the story?
Sure. Let's start. I was in Stater Brothers doing some shopping, and it was kind of early afternoon, 3:30, somewhere there. And we got a tight neighborhood, so I started getting text messages about a power outage. Edison did their planned power outage.
Okay, now I'm going to interrupt you because, wow, that was pretty early for the power to start going out. But you knew it was coming. They had heard there's some sort of...
I didn't know it was coming, but other neighbors
Right.
had paid attention to like alerts or notifications or something. So I was reading them in the store, and I thought, well, I better get groceries. I don't have to worry about the freezer. So, and then I got home, and shortly after I got home, our daughter got home. That's Mary, and I've always kind of tried to teach her to be responsible and independent. So I said, hey, power's out. Now's a great time for me to teach you how to start the generator and plug in the extension cords and get a light going and the refrigerators plugged in and going so we don't lose those. So we did that. And then kind of like thinking ahead, because I'm kind of playing like that, I said, by the way, it's going to be getting dark soon, so since we don't have any power and it requires power to get hot water, maybe I'd take a quick shower because you don't know when that's going to happen next.
Right.
So it was pretty much just another power outage to me. And then fast forward to about 6:15, 6:20, and the neighbor called me. Back up. I'm also the neighborhood watch captain for our neighborhood.
Okay.
So there's a lot of communication, and I feel like I'm kind of the hub, but not really. So the neighbor called and said, hey, did you know there's a fire east of us? So I walked outside and looked up, and I saw this really small fire on the hillside.
Up there near the power tower.
Yeah.
Right.
And I just kind of estimated it was like maybe an acre in size at that point. It wasn't very big, but the winds were horrendous. So I thought, there's a lot of fires. There's always fires.
Right.
So I just went back inside. And the neighbors were sending me text messages. What do we do? There's a fire. I was supposed to evacuate, and I had received no notices about evacuating.
Right.
So I'm trying to calm people down. I said, don't panic. I wouldn't just evacuate right now, but it wouldn't be, unwise to start packing. Wait until we get notice. And so the fire's getting worse. We're keeping an eye on it. And then I don't remember what time my wife got home right now, but around 7:30, I got a notification about evacuation advisory or something. Less than get out now. It was just be prepared. So then I was communicating with neighbors and saying, okay, guys, well, now it's about packing up and getting ready to leave. So just get prepared. And around a little bit before 8 o'clock, our daughter left in her car with our dogs. But we still weren't thinking like, this is evacuate because we're going to lose everything. It's evacuate because we'll be inconvenienced for the night. So she didn't take the dog food, but she took the dogs. Brandon had come home, and so he was helping us load things into the cars, as well as getting his own personal belongings. Not all of them, but a few things. We loaded up, and 8:15. 8 o'clock, we got a notice evacuate now, which I've never received anything like that. And my perspective was, we're so far away from the mountains. The fire department will stop the fire before it gets here. Plus there's Altadena and Mendocino, which are wide streets that are like a fire break. So I really thought, and then we noticed neighbors were, my wife actually saw neighbors pull up. Slightly older than we are, and get no power, so we had flashlights. We helped them evacuate, and I really felt really bad for them because they were panicked. Another neighbor had called, utterly panicked. You know, what do I do? Their husband was out of town. They're dear friends of ours, and I, coached her with driving behavior. And Brandon was still with us when we were with the neighbors. We got them out, and they left. And then my wife Kathy said, Bruce and Tony are still here. So we went to Bruce and Tony's house, and they had a generator, so they thought everything was fine.
Everything was fine.
And they didn't want to leave. And I'm not going to argue and battle with people. And so I was like, okay, well, if you need help, you know. So we left.
So pause for just a second, if I may, because somebody who's watching this, and I don't know where this is going to go throughout, I don't know where it's going to go, who's going to see this, but you and I know that you're like standing in the middle of a hot hurricane, right?
Yeah.
The wind is blowing, there's stuff going on, you can't see, now it's at night, there's no lights, there's no power,
Right.
and now you've got a fire, so it smells, you can smell the fire,
Yeah.
and it's coming.
I can
You got-
see it on the hillside.
There you go.
Too.
Okay. So you went to the neighbors, they're not leaving, because in our experience, we've never had to leave before.
You know, and that's, you know, it's the senses are usually heightened in an emergency, but we have occlusion, and so we focus on the really important task at hand, and so you get tunnel vision. But I distinctly remember so many certain little points, like several times coming out and seeing how fast and how far the fire had gone, where all the other fires, they were just so slow. This was like, it was moving so quickly in a westward direction. I also remember that the winds were as bad as, was it 2011 when we had the big windstorm? I think it was 2011.
Where there was trees down on every street in Pasadena.
Yeah.
Yes.
And our power was out for a week.
Oh boy, okay.
And I remember how damaging that was, and I'd only been through one other windstorm that strong in my life. And so I remember thinking, this is just as bad as that one. Which, you know, it's hard to say exactly all the things I was feeling because it's 7 months ago.
Right.
So,
Now, again, and we're gonna come back to what ultimately happened. But you said a couple of times, this person was panicked, this person was panicked. You were not panicked. Why? What's going on? Why weren't you panicked?
well, so I don't know if you know this, but I used to be in law enforcement, so I spent 25 years at
Did
the
not know
police
that.
department. Yeah, 4 years in patrol and 21 years as a detective. And so you prepare for emergencies. You prepare to help other people, guide people, instruct people, whether it's crowd control at a riot or a traffic collision or whatever. So you prepare for all that, and I'm not a hero. I mean, I didn't do anything heroic that day. But what you do is you kind of resort to your training. I shouldn't say kind of. You resort to your training. If you're a nurse or a doctor, the first thing you're going to do is start triaging things for medical emergencies
Right.
and how to solve them. So my strength was motivating people to move when they're stuck, or to stop when they're moving, to slow down, to be careful, and it's about organizing a lot of things
Mhm.
very rapidly to address whatever the immediate need is, and that is get out and get out safely.
There you go. And you did. You got out. Where did you guys go?
We went to my brother-in-law Kurt's house, Kurt and Barb. They lived in southeast Pasadena, over by I think it's Rosemead, Rosemead and Huntington. And his wife Barb and their kids, the kids are all in college, they were all gone. So he had this huge house with this huge property completely empty. And I believe there were 7 households in our family that all evacuated that night. So Deanna and Brandon and Deanna's roommates, well, Brandon lived with us, but Deanna and her roommates, and then the audience doesn't know these people, but they're people
But we
at
know
church.
you have a crowd. You have a crowd of family and friends that came
Right.
with you.
And so Kurt and Barb had one dog, no cats. Kurt was there by himself with the dog. By 9 o'clock, there were 21 guests, 3 extra dogs, and 2 cats in their house. And he didn't miss a beat. He has the
Wow.
spirit of hospitality, and he made sure that everybody was welcomed and had a place to sit, rest, drink water, calm down.
Power's on, power's off.
Power was on there.
Watching the news.
Yeah, they don't really have like regular TV, so
Okay.
we're trying to find news through internet on
Okay.
TV. But yes, that's what, and so everybody, phones and
I was there.
tablets,
Me too.
whatever. So we were watching it, and that night, we had all these families who are watching whatever news source there is and worried about their homes. And I don't mean to minimize our loss, but fortunately, we're the only ones who lost their homes in the whole group. Dave's daughter was renting a room at a house up in the Meadows, and that house burned down. So she essentially lost her home. But yeah, fortunately, everybody else was able to return.
And when did you find out that your house was gone?
6:30 the next morning. So I got to bed around 3:30 with no news. And around 6 o'clock I woke up and immediately got on my laptop, turned on my phone, and I had a text message with photos from one of my neighbors, Yanni. I saw his house burn down. There was just small flames. And he had taken the photo within a half hour. And then the house is next to his. They live across the street from us. Then there was a picture of a house on fire. It was like mostly still standing. And I was like, well, whose house is that? And then Brandon walks up and I'm like, hey, look at these photos from Yanni. And he's like, oh my gosh. And I said, whose house is that? And he's like, Dad, that's our house. I mean, I didn't even recognize it. And he says, that's the tree house. There's the fountain. And so that was a tough moment. I think that's when I broke.
Yeah. Yeah. You're not the first for that to happen to. Someone else sitting right where you're sitting last time, and they were driving home. They were driving home, and from the back seat, the son says, "Dad, you just passed it."
Their house?
Yeah, they didn't recognize it. So it's just, and again, your story is your story. It's not the same, but it's
Right.
it's the same. It's and what I've discovered is, you're driving through town, and you've driven past. I've lived in Altadena for 35 years, and you don't recognize places that you've driven past, hundreds of times.
Yeah.
Because it looks so different, and it just wasn't in your experience. You
Is
didn't
your
rec-
house still up?
Yeah. See, that's why I say same book, different story. Our house survived, but we're not living there yet because it's still infected with asbestos.
Sure.
It's bad. So.
Yeah.
Well, how have things been for you, for the family, since the fire? How are you?
This was a therapy session. It'd be a long time unpacking, but it's been stressful. My wife is extremely talented and gifted and super intelligent. And she's an amazing woman. She's very strong in maintaining relationships, and she's been key to me keeping my head screwed on, and the rest of the family too. So she's really good. Her father died in mid-December, and his funeral was the Saturday before the fire.
Oh.
And as you can imagine, that's a tough situation. We were all very close with her dad. I mean, it wasn't like this distant relative. They lived in Sierra Madre, and everybody in the family just loves each other. So his loss devastated everybody, but his wife and his 5 children, of course, affected the most. And so that added to things. And so the grieving process was ripped off by the fire. The grieving process because of the fire is heaped on top of it. So
Right.
there's that. And then she's also still taking care of people. That's just the way she is. Our kids, extremely hurt by it. That's their home. They grew up there. They have all sorts of happy memories. So many things were lost. And, okay, clothes, shoes, material things that you can replace, all right. But the stuff, the keepsakes, the cards, the mementos that cannot be replaced, that's really tough. And it's tough on all of us. And as a dad, you want to care for everybody in the family. I have this archaic belief that I'm a protector, and I'm supposed to defend everybody and make sure that no harm comes to everybody. And I know that seems stupid to a lot of people, but that's the way I'm programmed. Don't try to change me. So personally, I was really hurt by everything, and so that's tough. So there's been a lot of sadness, not as much anger as I thought I would have. But I'm gonna say that there are a few things that caused me to not be as angry. One is my relationship with Kathy McKinsey, and then her dad's role modeling to me, and then of course my spiritual life. And so I don't automatically equate any bad act as completely or inherently evil. Even though I have a strong sense of justice. So I'm not like a heavy philosophical guy, but it helps me cope. So, not nearly as angry as I thought it would be.
Are we cutting for a second? No?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Okay.
No,
You-
we are now.
We are now. Well, we go.
No, no, good.
That's what the clapping
We
thing-
have like less 9 minutes.
Okay, we're good. Okay. Well, you said something interesting that I haven't heard before, and so I want to ask you about that. When, or can you give me an example where your this desire to lead, which is just human male, we should all be that way, to protect, to serve, like that. Can you give me an example of when you stood up and said, I'm gonna lead this, I'm gonna take care of this, something's going on? Can you give me an example of that?
Besides this fire?
No, I mean within the fire, within this event, over the last few months, or like, you know.
Mm.
Well, that's gonna come back.
Not really.
Okay, not a problem. Well, let's ask this one then. Are there any moments that surprised you when just simple kindness or community came forward that would surprise you?
Absolutely. Yeah. There were people who call to voice concern and, care and stuff like that. And that's all greatly appreciated. And I asked everybody I spoke with, because I didn't know what my physical needs were. I just said, pray. And I absolutely was convinced that everybody would pray. And they said, well, pray for what? I said, that we have endurance through this, that we treat each other kindly. So that, and then an old college buddy of mine, Mike Benz, called me up. He says, hey man, what's going on? And he lives down near Garland, Brea, so I'm down over there. So I told him, and we've remained pretty close all these years. And he said, do you have clothes? I said, yeah, I've got like 2 or 3 days worth of clothes. He says, do you need a suit? I'm like, yeah, as a matter of fact, I do. He says, I think I've got something that'll fit you,
Awesome.
which is hard to do.
I'm not saying anything.
And he says, do you need anything else? I said, I could use a pair of jeans if you've got a spare pair of jeans. He's like, yeah, I've got jeans. Do you need socks? I'm like, oh yeah, I could use socks. So within a couple hours, he drove up and brought me
Wow.
some clothes. And then I'm in a fraternity called Freemasonry. And so my lodge is out in Covina. But I had spoken with brothers from another lodge out in Simi Valley several times last year. We had several conversations. And one of these guys just calls me up. And he's like, hey, I heard that you lost your house. We had a meeting. They do outreach. And I said, yeah. He goes, man, do you need anything? I can't think of anything. A friend of mine just brought me some clothes. Oh, do you need clothes? I'm like, yeah. He goes, do you have a suit? I go, I just got a suit. He says, do you have shoes? I go, oh, yeah. He goes, we're going to give you guys some gift cards. So
There you
the leadership team from there, he drove all the way out from Thousand Oaks to deliver gift cards. And there were a few people who just, so here's some clothes. All the clothes I had in my closet were used. So when people are donating used clothes to me, I'm not, I'm not turning up my nose at it. I'm like, oh, perfect.
Right.
They're broken in. Here we go. But that, it's so weird. All of a sudden having clothes to wear. It's a strange thing. A friend of mine's a pastor, Jay Walden. Known him for many years. He rehabbed me spiritually many years ago. He's just a super positive, uplifting, powerful dude. And he called me right away. And we spent time on the phone, talking and praying. And he did what he always does, which leaves me more energized and feeling positive than at the beginning of the conversation. So yeah, there were a bunch of kind things that happened.
John, I got 8 more questions I could go through, but I think we have covered it. Okay, and I appreciate you being here, because your story is not, for whoever's watching this, it's not going to just be about fire, because they're going to be going through some sort of other tragedy. Something else has happened. And I just see that you're exhibiting strength, and you're taking care of your family, and you're hanging on to. I just read today in the 1 Peter, verse 2, I think it is, that there's a hope that we have. We have a connection to the risen God, and it gives us hope for the future. I'm gonna wrap this up and just say that you are exhibiting hope for the future. Maybe we'll talk again, and you can tell us the rest of the story, because I'd like to know where you are and what the plans for rebuilding are, if any. But I think that'll do it for us for now.
Okay.
Thank you guys so much for being here, John. It's really a pleasure to see you and talk to you. And keep your eyes open. Keep your eyes open for the glimmers of hope in your life. Someone is there for you. We'll see you.